Welcome to Monologues by Hassie, where I'm going to be dropping unsolicited brain dumps from the depths of my grey matter. I'll talk about life, money, society, and self-development, plus whatever else lies up there, whilst hopefully not getting cancelled in the process. If you've been involved in the world of manufacturing, you'll often hear a tale about the two line managers. They work at a plant and they manage lines where each line produces 1,000 units of a product which is very valuable to the company. Now, line manager number one runs their plant for 20 hours per day and takes 4 hours off so that his staff can do preventative maintenance on the line which produces these very valuable widgets. Line manager number two is very ambitious and decides to run his line for 24 hours per day, does no preventative maintenance, and because he's producing 20% more widgets, so he's producing 24,000 widgets versus the 20,000 widgets that the first line manager was producing, line manager number two gets selected for a promotion. The company's like, this is great. We're producing 20% more because this line manager was in charge. Let's promote him. So line manager number two gets promoted, goes to a higher role in the company, and someone new comes in to replace him. And as soon as they come in, line number two breaks. The equipment hasn't been maintained, and you have equipment failure all over. And all of a sudden, the company is losing 24,000 widgets per day. The moral of the story is line manager number one, the person who decided to only run his line for 20 hours per day and make sure that the equipment was being maintained for the remaining 4, he was doing what we call preventative maintenance. And when we look at our bodies as a system and our bodies and our minds, and I'm talking about us as humans now, our minds are like the line manager in that we decide how much work we're going to do and how much preventative maintenance we do. And our bodies, and I guess the state of our mind, well, that's the line. How efficiently is that running? Now, there are many times in our lives where we need to be the line manager who does the 24 hours per day. Obviously not literally, but there are times where we push ourselves to our upper limit, almost like redlining on our car. We're in the top gear and we're driving as fast as we can. But here's the thing about doing that. It's not sustainable. Now, I've been very susceptible to burnout in the past. I've experienced it in uni, I've experienced it at work. And here's the thing, in the past, I haven't been very conscious about knowing what I was getting into. And I'd only realized that I screwed up after it was too late. Many episodes ago, I did an episode about burnout, about getting out of a rut. And if you go back and listen to that episode, what I talk about is getting out of a rut takes such a long time. If you were perfectly juggling 8 things at the same time and all of a sudden you lose track of those 8 things, it's going to take you a very long time to pick those up because you're probably going to have to pick things up one at a time. So the opportunity cost of falling into a rut, of getting into burnout, is so much higher than taking well-planned breaks. So, acknowledging that this can happen, here's what I've done. I've forced myself to take holidays for the next quarter. Now, I'm at a period in my life where I've started a new role that can be quite stressful at times, not because the work I'm given is stressful, but because I'm coming from a position where I need to learn so much to be able to do that work. In addition, our company is evolving and we're doing bigger and greater things, so the volume of work is expanding. So there's a few, I guess, combining factors at work where I really need to be on my ball, but then I'm not the type of person who comes home and sits on the couch and watches TV. I set personal KPIs for the next quarter, so until the end of December, where I need to get through 2 very dense books, 2 courses, be exercising every day and making sure I'm meditating. And on top of that, I'm, of course, running this podcast and doing a few other things. So my life is quite hectic. I've looked at a few of my friends' lives, and some of them are in positions where they're even more hectic than me. I have a friend who's starting a dental clinic, and I've watched him absolutely go nuts. He's been doing absolutely superhuman stuff to get his clinic up and running. And one piece of advice I said to him is, well, you don't want to get burnt out. Why don't you force yourself to go on a holiday in, let's say, 6 weeks? And if you can't go on a holiday for one day and come back and your business doesn't keep running, well, then you've done something wrong with how you've set up your business. Well, that's point one. But B, you need to make sure that you don't burn out, because if you're so pivotal in running this business, then you should be making sure that you're doing preventative maintenance for yourself. And I'm now doing that for me. So what I've done is I've got a very hectic schedule for the next 3 months. And on an average, every 6 weeks, I'm taking a mini break. I'm going away for the weekend. Now, this doesn't need to be expensive. This could simply be saying, this Saturday and this Sunday, I'm not going to do anything but go to the park. It doesn't need to be expensive, but you should really break your routine, and you should force yourself to do it. Especially if you're somebody who is a workaholic. Now, if you're not a workaholic, well, maybe this is the wrong advice. But having mentioned that now, I've also seen the scenario where people feel guilty for not working. They feel so guilty that they never take a holiday. And that almost has the same effect. They're just burning themselves out for a different reason. You probably still need to reset. So, just like the plant manager, the smart one, who unfortunately didn't get the promotion because in the short term, he took time off. He won in the long term because the management of that factory eventually realized that plant manager number one, who was only running for 20 hours a day and doing 4 hours of maintenance, was the winner in the long term. So when we optimize for our own health and well-being, are you playing a long-term game or are you playing a short-term game? If we go too hard today and it results in reducing our output tomorrow, have we really done something right? Ideally, we should work to a level where we can continue doing that same amount of work tomorrow. Reason being, in the long run, consistency is what will make you win. And for me, deciding to go on holiday, now in my case, I am spending money. I went to one destination in Central Australia. I went to Uluru, and it's quite expensive out there, but for me, it was an experience I wanted. So that did cost a lot. The planned holidays I'm doing for the rest of the year are significantly cheaper. That said, for me, I'm happy doing this because I understand nothing in life is free. And I will reiterate that your breaks do not need to be this expensive, but you will pay for them in time. You will pay for them in time off. Maybe there's going to be a part of you thinking, I could be hustling today. Why am I sitting in a park watching ducks? But maybe that's exactly what you need to do. Maybe you need to go on that hike, observe Mother Nature. So I have an inherent understanding now that nothing in life is free. And when I decide to work hard, I will pay the cost for maintenance either today or I will pay it tomorrow. And there's two currencies that I can pay the cost for maintenance. The first, for me, I live in Australia, so I can pay the cost for maintenance in Australian dollars, or I could pay it with my health. And for me, one of those is inherently more valuable than the other. Let me tell you, the fiat currency printed by our central banks, it's worthless. It's depreciating every day. Why would I not spend it if it's going to allow me to rest, recover, and come back, get back into a state where I can produce more work? So this is why I've forced myself into taking holidays for the rest of the year. And maybe you should consider it too. You've just made it through another episode of Monologues by Hassie. It brings me great pleasure to know that you made it to the end. To listen to more episodes, subscribe on your favorite podcast app or visit monologuesbyhassie.com. Thanks for swinging by.